There's something about solo travel in a VW bus that strips life down to its core. The road stretches out ahead of you, endless and quiet, with nothing but the hum of the engine and the open sky as your constant companions. It's not about nostalgia or sentimentality. It's about the rawness of the experience, the simplicity of living in motion. No deadlines, no crowded timelines, just you and the road, both moving at the same deliberate pace. Alone out there, you become hyper-aware of the details. The world slows down enough for you to actually notice things. The way the sunlight bleeds through the windshield at dawn, the muted colors of the landscape as the weather shifts, or how the wind moves through the trees at dusk. It's a kind of mindfulness that comes naturally when everything unnecessary is stripped away. You have no choice but to pay attention. I've swapped out the high-end camera gear for something far more basic, an old handycam. It's crude, grainy, but honest. There's no pretense. It doesn't care about perfection, it's just there to capture what's happening. When you're shooting with something this raw, there's no hiding behind perfect shots or polished footage. It forces you to focus on composition, on the subtle textures and the imperfections of the moment. You become the storyteller, not the gear. There's a freedom when working like this, traveling with just the essentials, carrying only what you can easily fit in the backpack. The weight of the heavy gear is gone, along with the expectations that come with it. Instead, you're left with the basics, a camera and the creative instincts you've sharpened all the time. What you capture is real, not curated, not manufactured, just the raw story that unfolds in front of you. That's where the artistry lies. Filmmaking for me has always been about finding beauty in the small, the understated. Indie filmmaking gives you that permission to break away from convention, to capture the moments that don't scream for attention but linger in the background. The old handycam feels like an extension of that mindset. It's lo-fi, imperfect, but it's truthful in a way modern gear often isn't. You film because you want to see the world as it is. Start to appreciate the quiet moments, those in-between spaces when nothing's happening. That's where I find most of my shots. The lingering smoke of an industrial site on the horizon, rain droplets collecting on the windshield, the flicker of the landscape through the window as the bus crawls along. They're not moments that demand attention, but they're the ones that stay with you. It's not romantic or heroic, it's just you dealing with whatever the road throws at you. Breakdowns, bad weather, or long stretches of empty highway when nothing happens for miles. But there's clarity in what emptiness, a kind of rhythm that lets your thoughts settle. After a while, the road becomes less about where you're going and more about the act of moving forward frame by frame. In the end, solo travel in this old VW bus